future requires what I call as a cyber physical age. So if you look at the 1900s to the 1980s, we had the machine age, correct? The industrialization and everything. That was the physical age. Everything was physical, that, all that. After the 80s, when the computers came in, it was more information age, what we call as the information age. But by the end of the, and early 2000s, all those lines blurred out completely. So your social life became your office life, became your social life. So the lines just blurred because of mobility and all that stuff. So now what has happened is your business is so, technology is so pervasive into business. What has happened is, I think a workforce which is both cyber and physical is needed. Physical because we live in the real world. And this is what, Cisco calls the Internet of Things. Or, many other companies, IBM, HP, all have the same concept with a different name. But it's the Internet of Things. But it is a workforce that will have to understand certain pure sciences. So things like physics or chemistry or languages or mathematics. And also be proficient in data mining, and what do I do with the data and how do I connect up systems to have data. So you should have physical as well as you should have the technology knowledge. So for example, I would see in future, if Stanford University offers a specialization program in let's say, in structural engineering, I would rather put my child through civil engineering in Stanford University, where he learns everything about construction, which also includes structure, by the way, rather than specialize in structural engineering on day one. I will make him a generalist, get him something into a pure science, get him knowledge of technology, and the interplay of those two will create a special skill set by itself, which will be employable.
I would love to have that kind of a thing, because I always feel that in a Montessori, we help children help himself. That is one thing, and then there is an opportunity for him to compete with his own potential. Okay, so that is what it is. He identifies what his strengths are, what his improvement points, and then it is going to be all the more easy for him to what next, and then keep going. And so that is something.
But you talked on this integrated personality, correct? Will, intelligence, and voluntary movements. I love that. So why don't you talk that?
Yeah. Okay. So no, because the child is in the formative age, there is something that Dr. Montessori talks about the integrated. There is a need for an integrated personality, where you have to help your will, intelligence, and voluntary movements to work in unison. You can't have different things, okay. If you want to have a healthy human individual, then this has to happen, and therefore the way see, for example, my children live, any activity that he does, okay, will have its will and intelligence and voluntary movements to work in unison. There will be scope for him to do all those things. Therefore, he grows up into an integrated personality.
So let me just take that to the workforce now over here. So if you look at it, first is, are you building and helping build a generation that's going to help itself? That's the first point. And this Montessori method allows you to do that. If you let the Montessori method go till the age of 16 or 18, it lets you do that. So it helps the person help himself. So a lot of learning becomes self-help. And therefore, what happens is you're competing with yourself. You're not competing with anyone else. So just like the bird which sings, but sings for itself, doesn't care whether Ravi is listening or Bill is listening, correct? He sings. So that's what the child will go towards. The second thing is you're going to build a personality which you say is this will and intelligence and voluntary movement working with each other. If you look at that, there again you're building resilience. The will, basically, will to do something, correct? The will to win, whatever way you want to define winning as. The will to win, that will, they're building basic resilience into that human being. And I think that education will help in the long run when you build a workforce, which naturally comes with that will to win. And I will look at will to win from a different way, which is called refusing to lose. So you refuse to lose, whatever way you define your winning by or losing by, but you refuse to lose. And I think that is essential for the workforce of the future. And finally, how do you build the capacity and the capability to learn and continuously learn? So we are here today because each one of us is here today because of our experiences and the learnings that we've accumulated over the years. So how do you improve both the capability and that capacity? And I think Montessori education gives that opportunity to increase that capacity and capability multifold. And so if you can bring that methodology somewhere, then it's different.
No, the child lives that way, so
Correct.
unconsciously all this happens, taken care of. Okay, so he need not put in a effort, for him it comes so natural to him. When he takes up something, he wants to complete it, you don't give up. You don't give up till you reach the end, all those things are basic skills that all of us need to pursue anything in life.
The other point you also said was, where he doesn't feel guilty that he's made a mistake.
Correct.
Made a mistake, he doesn't feel guilty.
Correct.
I'll give you an example of what happened just yesterday at school. It was a crazy thing. This is a 2.5-year-old child, and he wet his pants. He was so cranky because his parents hadn't sent, we asked for an extra set of clothes just in case something like this happens. And this kid wet his pants, and he was so cranky right through before we could get him another set. And then we realized that it was his parents who told him at his house that, hey, if you wet your pant, you're doing something really lousy. And so what happened was, this kid is under tremendous pressure when he does that. Whereas in the environment that we are trying to create over here, there's no right or wrong. It's only a perspective, correct? So the kid slowly starts to make mistakes, learn from that mistakes, and move on.
Even when he's doing a math problem, the teacher doesn't come and tell him you've done this right, this wrong, this correct, tick, all that is not there. We'll give him an answer sheet, or we have a control chart. We say, you finish, you just go and check out in the control chart, and then he goes and checks for himself. Then he will correct then he'll say, Auntie, I have not done this, oh, it's not that, okay, fine, you do it again. A spontaneous help is offered, and then he learns to take help. He also learns to give help, because giving help is something that all of us will do, but so many of us, at least in India, we find it difficult to take help from people, Even when they grow up, all these are not going to change.
So if I take this, therefore, the ability to make mistakes and learn from it, this has huge consequence again when you get to the workforce, because most of the time, your experience is, I've made a mistake somewhere, so I learned from that experience, and sometimes we retrofit it into a wrong situation later on in life. It could be a different situation, we haven't read that situation correctly, and then we say, oh, I made a mistake then. The other thing is, and most of the time, some of this happens because we refuse to forgive ourselves. We are able to forgive others, but we are just so difficult to forgive ourselves. And I think if that happens, the cleansing happens internally, and then you find a better leader. The leader of the tomorrow, the leader, I think, a leader, or for that matter, even today, a leader needs to know how to live down his mistakes and get on with life. And to some extent, the corporate world doesn't allow that, because there is so much of consequence which comes with those mistakes that we don't see the leader as a human being. We end up seeing him like a machine with very, very small tolerance levels. And you can't see this human being as a human being with all his pluses and his minuses. That's where I would say that you need a change.
Wow.